Show me what you can do when you step into the circle and shake like we do, and move when you just can't take it, and move if you just feel like breaking.
My name is Chris Vickers. I've been investigating the paranormal for 3 years.
My name is George Franco Mihalos. I've been investigating in the paranormal field now for about 5 years.
My name is Ryan Fessler, and I have been investigating the paranormal for approximately 4 years.
My name is Carolyn Braband, and I've been a paranormal investigator for about 3 years.
My name is Brian Turnoff, and I've been investigating the paranormal for 3 years.
My name is Philip McCarty. I've been investigating for just about under a year.
Being a paranormal investigator means to me is finding the truth.
I don't do this for fame. I don't do this for money. I do this to help others.
That word, paranormal investigator, means responsibility.
It means putting the client first and being able to establish whether a spirit is actually in their homes or not.
Being a paranormal investigator means to me going out and helping someone who needs help that doesn't have explained answers.
My top 3 favorite places to investigate: number 1, Gettysburg, PA; number 2, Sac to Coast Manor, Long Island; number 3, Mount Misery.
My top 3 places that I've investigated would be number 1, Bobby Mackey's, Wilder, Kentucky; number 2, Mount Misery Road in Long Island, New York; and number 3, Kings Park Psych Center. Top 3 favorite places to investigate would have to be the Fire Island Lighthouse, Kings Park Psych Center, and Sagatoast Manor, all located on Long Island. The best piece of evidence I've gotten has to be at Burlington Prison.
He had a strobe light set up outside the room.
I started to recreate if a prisoner were to get hurt.
And he said, "Guard, guard, help us, we're down."
All of a sudden, the strobe light kicks on, starts going off by itself.
No one was near it, and it happened several times throughout the night.
They turned into just like balls of energy and shot across the ceiling.
Look up, I see a black figure come down the stairwell in the hallway.
Couldn't really tell what it was, but definitely wasn't there at the time.
My favorite piece of equipment would be any Geiger counter,
The audio recorder.
The air ion counter.
I think I'm both scientific and spiritual.
Definitely more on the scientific side.
I'm going to have to consider myself more of a spiritual investigator.
Always try to take a scientific approach. It takes a lot for me to be convinced of anything.
I use my equipment and I stick to my equipment, but you also go off your intuition. If you're feeling something, roll with it.
Hey, what up? It's Cyrus from We Found Glory. I want to say what up to Chris and Shadows of the Paranormal. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bobby Mackey, and I'd certainly like to welcome my friends here from Long Island, the SOB group.
Hey, this is Aaron Houdini, and I'm here with Shadows of the Paranormal at Bobby Mackey's Music World. I want to give Shadows a big shout out.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Misguided Souls on Z Talk Radio. We'll be back in 1 second.
The views expressed and opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Z-Talk Radio, its affiliates, or sponsors.
We give those other guys the finger.
You're listening to Z-Talk Radio Network.
We're the station that beats all the competition, and we'll prove it as soon as we hear any competition.
You're listening to Z-Talk Radio Network.
Everybody, this is Tim McGraw for RAD, recording artist, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. I spend a lot of time on the road and I see some funny things out there, but one thing that's not so funny is someone who's about to drive drunk. So take the keys and be a friend, because friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
I am living on Channel Z.
You're listening to Z-Talk Radio Network.
I am living on Channel Z.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Chris.
What's going on?
Yo, it's Matt.
Brian. It's Ryan.
And Carolyn.
Yay.
This is Misguided Souls on Z-Talk Radio.
Sound like the Brady Bunch.
I know, right?
Like that was not scripted at
all. Hope you guys, whoever's a mother, hope you guys enjoyed your Mother's Day. Hope you ladies enjoyed your Mother's Day.
To all the women, we'll say.
Yes.
Not just mothers,
The future
sisters
mothers.
who have mothers, those who are still with us, past and present.
Mother effers.
Mother, which are all of us. So.
Yes.
So happy belated Mother's Day. No doubt about it. You women all deserve it. Thanks for everything.
Yep.
If you
You're
have,
welcome.
Especially
if you have
Matt's
chesticles.
Yes.
Especially my mom? Why?
Especially Matt's mother, because
Why?
she on a Tuesday. Good Lord.
Oh.
That's tomorrow, baby.
I quit.
See you tomorrow.
I'm going home. So you're my daddy.
Oh man! Tonight we have an awesome guest. We have Eric Altman from Pennsylvania's Bigfoot Research Society. He's an awesome dude. Great to chill with. We saw him again this year in Gettysburg for Phenomenology 104. We went out to dinner with him, 2 nights or something?
Yeah, General Pickett's Buffet and
Chubby's.
Chubby's. Both places awesome.
Where the menu had a picture of Jason Gowan.
Yes.
It was meant to be.
Did Jason notice that? Or
yeah, they took a photo with that.
That's awesome.
It was him, the menu, and Chris Dedman. They took a photo.
That's hysterical. I would still go back there. They had like the best like hot sauce.
They did.
No,
all their sauces were awesome.
Minus the embedded grease feel of the tablecloths.
Well, that's real barbecue.
Real
feel to it.
I'm putting my hands down expecting to stay in one spot, but I'm like...
If you're not sticking to the table, you're at the wrong place at a barbecue.
Just imagine if it was outdoors on like a regular picnic table, you'd go like this and like paint chips would come up and stuff. I didn't know which sauce I liked best, so I just kept pouring them all on.
Yeah. The hot sauce.
Like, it was like 5 or 6 different sauces I had on my food.
It wasn't too hot. That's a great thing. Like I'm not crazy about like really spicy food. Like if it's too hot, it ruins everything for me. But like I like the flavor of hot sauce, not the burn, the actual flavor. Yeah. And that hot sauce was perfect like that.
And no, we're not getting paid, but Chubby's, if anyone's listening, please send us food. Or give us
Just send me the sauce.
And they had a gorgeous waitress.
Yeah, they did.
Me and Matt were right next to her, and she was
yeah, it was like you guys were like glued to
food
her.
for the eyes.
Yes, exactly.
I lost my appetite because all you guys were just like, go.
I think I think every guy at that table got whiplash when she came into the room. It's like
it was interesting because she goes, it's really hot in here. Do you mind if I change into shorts? And we're like, no.
I got some for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just funny, and Deborah Lance kept looking over and just giggling at us all. She's like, you guys. And of course, then she looks at Nick, and Nick's staring right over, and
He's like a hound dog with his mouth open.
Exactly.
Did you see Nick's prom picture on Facebook?
Yes.
His date? Yeah, I'm proud of him.
Yeah, Nick for himself.
I'm proud of him.
He's a cutie.
It's a hair. It's his Justin Bieber hair, man.
Yes.
I know.
Chick magnet.
Bieber mania.
I think it's more his charm, but you can.
It's a good
also
combination
blame it on
of
the
the two.
hair.
He's irresistible with
She probably came back with him after the whole prom was like, so when you going on tour? No, honestly, when are you going on tour? Wait, you're not?
I didn't realize you were so
tall.
But it's funny because if you actually look at the photo, there's like
I didn't see
reflection or like dust in the background, and it's funny because there's like an aura around his hair.
If you look at the hair here, it looks like she just got fluff on the bottom of her dress. Did you see that? It's just I don't know what body part that is. Like, what is that? Is that a head or is that an elbow with hair? What is that?
See, look, Nick's got like an aura around his hair.
He's got a halo.
Wow, he's holy. That's awesome.
Yo, this
like
sweet
Swiss
suit,
cheese.
man. Sweet suit, love it.
I had the greatest suit of my prom was the best.
What was it?
I had like black shirt, I had a black vest, a white tie, and you ever see like, I don't know, it's like a jacket. It didn't have a collar. It didn't close either, but it came down like this. It was almost like a Beatles jacket from like, it was the sickest freaking jacket ever.
Well, when the show's over, you gotta show us a picture.
Yes, I do.
All right.
I gotta bug my mom. I've been bugging my mom. I'm like, Mom, my birthday, just give me that jacket.
Well, there was
Ever since my prom in 07.
When I was with my ex-girlfriend, she had like a powder blue dress, and she's like, "Oh, why don't you wear a powder blue suit?" I'm like there's something about Mary? No,
it's like Dumb and Dumber.
Not at all.
It's the tux, the blue one.
So, and it's like then the next year she's that was her junior prom. Then her senior prom, she's like, "I got salmon." I'm like, "Why can't you get a normal color like something cool?" Like hot pink. That would have been gangster. Would have wore a hot pink tie. Like I'd have been legit, but. Nope.
I think when the word salmon comes into play, it's like, no. I don't want that color.
But,
I don't like grizzly bears.
Yeah, we have Eric Altman on our show in a little while. Should be calling in about 5 minutes or so. He's on his way home from work. Yes, Zeta, you are correct. And former Z-Talk host, Eric Altman.
Nice.
Yes. If you guys have any questions in the chat room, just shoot us some questions. I was talking to a few people that I know and letting them know that I was going to have a Bigfoot, I guess as much as you can get, expert on our show. I had a few questions that were asked to me, so I'll definitely have some questions in my own form.
Yeah, and it's funny because before I even went to Gettysburg and I even met him, I was such a skeptic. Like, I never wanted to believe in that. I'm like, I might as well just believe in anything if you believe in I guess a fictional zoology. I wasn't really into the whole zoology thing, but since going to lectures and going to the few conventions we've been going to, it's definitely changed my mind a lot.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe 100%, but
you're more open to it.
I'm definitely more open to it. So
and it really is honestly amazing how, because there's the paranormal part of the field and there's cryptozoology, and for the most part, you were either one or the other. And now it really is amazing because, for the past few lectures I've been going on or conventions I've been doing, like even me and Ryan, we went and shot for a movie that's going to be coming out, Ghost of Fire 2, in Centralia, Pennsylvania, with Robin Marie and a bunch of other people. And Chris Stepney and Dina Palazzini, they're from, Beyond the Veil, Paranormal. They investigate Carl Johnson, which is Dina's boyfriend. And they also have another group called Project Rhodey. And they're looking for the Big Rhodey, which is, Rhode Island's Bigfoot. And it's amazing how these different paranormal investigators that's the one thing that they really still do stick to is, Bigfoot.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we're paranormal investigators, so if we believe there's a possibility of paranormal activity happening, whether it's ghosts or whatever, then, why not be open to the possibility of, animals existing that haven't been discovered yet? I mean, like, Bigfoot is probably one of the oldest, in terms of like history,
and it's everywhere.
I mean, and it's possible that it exists, and I mean, these guys that research it, I mean, they do a lot. They do a lot of stuff, and some of the stuff they were telling us, even at the last convention in Massachusetts,
right.
There was some interesting information that really makes you think, like, well, okay, like. For instance, one of them was, this guy talked to hunters and wildlife experts like over like 20 years or something, and not one of them has said that they found that's probably him, a carcass of a bear that died naturally. So if that's the case, then Bigfoot.
What's going on, man?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Eric, what's going on? It's Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Awesome. How was work?
Work is work.
I hear you.
That sums it up. Well, thanks for being on tonight. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Yes, and Zeta said to say hello to you.
Hello, Zeta.
She's in our chat room right now. She's like, former Z-Talk host. Tell Eric I said hi, so just passing that message along.
Oh, thanks.
So, I've been seeing on your Facebook and things lately about not wanting or, not feeling the need, I guess, to do any interviews or some lectures and some other things that are going on. What's your status, I guess, with are things slowing down with you looking for Bigfoot, or is it just you want to take more time to research? Or
it's kind of a little bit of both, actually. Things have been kind of crazy around my place in the last couple of months. We're still getting the sighting reports here in southwestern Pennsylvania and around the state, and I'm trying to do a lot more work in the field. But I'm also filming a movie that's due to come out on DVD in the fall, so my schedule's kind of busy with that as well. And I've been doing interviews and the lectures for going on 10, 11 years now, and I think pretty much everybody's been Bigfooted out at this point. So kind of thought I'd take a little step back and concentrate on making the movie, doing the research, and giving people a little bit of a break.
Nice.
I hear you, and that's you know, we were actually just talking about how interesting it is that, you know, it used to be only if you're a paranormal investigator, you're into paranormal. Cryptozoology was, you know, with cryptozoology, and now the two seem to be, you know, basically merged, so to speak, because, you know, it's like perfect examples, phenomenology. That's where I had met you last year at Phenomenology 103, and, you know, it's, you have your paranormal, your spirits, your demonics, your, you know, that portion of it. You have your UFOs and, you know, Travis Walton, Stan Romanak, and then you also have the Bigfoot aspect of everything too.
It has to kind of blend together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you felt that there's more of like a rise or decline in you know, things with maybe with sightings or interest, or has it fairly stayed the same throughout the years since you've been interested and been involved?
Well, it really hasn't taken off. I got into this a long, long time ago. I've been doing this about 32 years now, following the phenomenon and field researching and investigating the sightings for about 15 years now. And it really didn't start taking off probably until about 2007, 2008. And I think the reason it became more and more popular are folks finding the subject on the internet. And a lot of people grew up like I did, you know, watching the old documentaries and seeing stuff on TV and reading the old books about it. But they really didn't have any place to go to because there wasn't really an outlet for it. And I'd say about 2007, 2008, it really started to pick up in as far as interest in the subject goes. And now we've got documentaries on the Sci-Fi Channel. You've got documentaries on the History Channel. Animal Planet's got Finding Bigfoot. So the interest in cryptozoology really exploded, and there's a huge interest in it. More and more people are getting into the subject. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think the reason for that not only is the internet, but I think people have just kind of gotten tired of the oversaturation with all the ghost hunter shows, and it's kind of gotten to the point where those who are into the ghost research and the haunting research, the diehards will stay with it. Those who are just in it for the passing fad, they're looking for the next big thing. And I think a lot of people are jumping on the cryptozoology bandwagon because it's something new to them. It's a new niche. They're jumping on it now.
Right.
I mean, that makes sense. In terms of evidence, I mean, for you, what's been like the most impressive piece of evidence you've came across, whether it was through your own research or somebody else's? I mean, was there anything in particular that like really was like a wow factor for you?
I had my own experiences out in the woods. I found footprints on my own, as well as going to sighting locations and finding the footprints that witnesses have discovered. I've casted plenty of tracks. Saw some of them on my table to share phenomenology. That stuff's great, and I enjoy finding that and having the experiences. But I think what is most intriguing to me is, and it makes me go wow, are the sightings that people are still having, and the reports that people from all walks of life are turning in. Some of these encounters people have, that they share their stories with me, that really kind of blow my mind. There's always something different. They're never the same thing twice. And that always keeps me on the edge of my seat, because I know that these things are still around, people are still seeing them. So I think the sightings and the eyewitness testimony is probably the best evidence for me, at least.
Are there similarities though at all between like what they're actually experiencing in terms of if they see or hear anything? Are there similarities in that aspect?
Oh, sure. The descriptions are usually very similar. Sometimes they might vary between sightings. You know, the size of the creature, or physical description from being either really skinny and malnourished, or a very bulky, large creature, short, tall, different hair colors. They all have their different varying factors in them. But yeah, for the most part, they do have a lot of similarities too. When people describe seeing an upright walking being, or a hominid, if you want to call it that, covered with hair, and I think a lot of these sightings are chance encounters, and I think that's what makes it so exciting is people aren't specifically out looking for these creatures when they have their sighting. They just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really interesting coincidence that I find in a lot of the reports.
You've been researching about Bigfoot pretty much your whole life, since you're about 10 years old or so. In your research, how long would you say that Bigfoot sightings have been going on? And are they really in certain areas, or is it really a worldwide phenomenon?
Bigfoot reports have been coming in going back literally hundreds of years. I mean, we've got documented reports that date back even to the time of Lee Barrickson. He encountered some large monster-like, man-like creatures when he was exploring the North American continent. So we have these reports that go back hundreds of years. The Native Americans have these reports. We have documented newspaper reports that go back to the 1800s. So the sightings have been going on for a long time, and it's not just a North American phenomenon or Northern Hemisphere phenomenon. These sightings go on all around the world. It's a global phenomenon. They may not necessarily be Bigfoot, like we're used to and familiar with here in the United States, but very similar type creatures are seen and reported from all different countries and continents around the globe.
That's definitely interesting. We have someone in our chat room was just saying that Kenzo was saying that they grew up on the Pennsylvania border, was always afraid to run into one, but in North Carolina they have what they've say is like the blonde Bigfoot.
Yeah, there's been reports down in the North Carolina area, Kaiser, North Carolina. There was a trailer park back in the 1970s, and I believe it was called Knobs Court, if I'm not mistaken. And the creature got its nickname Nobby from haunting this trailer court down there. And they claimed that the creature had a very light-colored hair to it. Not necessarily a blonde, but like beige or tan. And some people might have identified it as being blonde. A couple of years ago, in 2010, there was a gentleman down in the Kaiser area that had a sighting, and it pretty much kicked off the phenomenon again that Nobby was back in the area. And people have claimed they've seen it since. North Carolina's always had a history of Bigfoot in it. It's just not well documented or well reported.
What makes like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever, so elusive? I mean, is it that they're highly intelligent and they know how to avoid us, or is it just there's so few of them out there that we just don't see them as often as maybe some other animals out there?
But that's a great question, and unfortunately, I don't have the definitive answer to that. But there's a lot of different thinking about why these creatures haven't been discovered yet. And one of them you mentioned, high intelligence. A lot of researchers believe, based on the eyewitness testimony, that these creatures are so intelligent, almost to the level of human beings, that they're able to avoid being captured or having these conflicts with men where they run a risk of being shot at. And, I mean, there's a lot of different factors why we possibly haven't caught one. The speculation abounds in this field, unfortunately. And until we're able to really study these animals in their natural environment, that's all we really have to go on is speculation. I could go on all night as to why we don't have a body or why we haven't found a body or why we can't capture one. But to be perfectly honest with you, at this point, I really don't have a definitive answer.
Well, that's what me and you were talking about in phenomenology was, I said, my one question that, I obviously have tons of them, but one of my biggest questions was, if there have been claims for so long, how come we haven't found any bones? And, that was, me and you were talking about that for a while.
Yeah, and people speculate, again, there's several reasons why we haven't found a carcass, a full body, or even bones. And I know from my experiences in the forest, and I'm a seasoned hunter, I've been hunting now for going on 20, 25 years, I know that when an animal dies in the forest, their body decays very quickly, usually within a week. And most people that do go into the woods for recreation, whether it's hunting, camping, hiking. They're not seasoned biologists or wildlife experts. So when they come across the corpse in the woods, they just assume that it's a common animal and probably walk right by and don't even pay any attention to when, in fact, it might be something worth checking further into. Again, it's all speculation as to why we haven't found a body yet, but there's a lot of different factors. Some people even think that possibly Bigfoot has a social structure like human beings do, and they bury their dead. We just simply don't know at this point.
That's actually pretty interesting. I never even thought about that they may actually have some type of burial for their dead. That's
interesting.
I never really thought about that.
It's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what is your, anyone can really go on the internet and research Bigfoot or go out into the woods and camp out and see if they see anything. What does your research entail, when it comes to it?
Did we lose you?
Is he still there?
I think we might have lost him.
Eric?
Eric?
Hello?
Maybe that's him calling back.
Is that him? Is that him calling back?
Doesn't say.
Pick it up.
Eric?
Sorry, guys.
It says we're still connected.
He's got a bad connection.
Technical difficulties. We're figuring this out right now.
I asked the question.
What phone service do you have?
Well, anyway.
Eric, if you could hear, just call us right back.
All right. Oh, there we go.
We'll see if that's
I think
him.
he heard us. Let's see.
If it's not him.
We're obviously professionals here, if you couldn't tell by our ringer and
our call waiting.
Hello.
Come on, Eric Altman, call back.
Right. So the kill time, we're gonna have Ryan beatbox. Go, do it.
Now. We apologize to you guys right now. For those who are in the...
Hey, Eric, sorry we had lost you.
Someone's pouring down rain, you can drop a cell signal anytime.
Okay, good.
It happens.
Well, Carolyn had a question for you.
I didn't catch the question. Would you mind repeating it again for me?
Yeah, sure. As far as research goes, I want to know what your side of your research, what it entails, because anyone, can just go on the internet and research articles or camp out in the woods for a weekend hoping they can see a sighting. What does your research entail?
I have to apologize. I'm having a real hard time hearing the question.
Yeah, it's fine. What's the research, like your research, entail when it comes to Bigfoot? Because anyone can really just go on the internet and look up an article or camp out in the woods. So what specifically do you do to research it and work on it?
It's a little bit of everything, actually, and you bring up some great points. Really, there's no classes or no college you can take to be a Bigfoot researcher. My interest stemmed from when I was a small child, and I educated myself by reading books and following the work of other researchers. And there's a lot of folks out there who are interested in getting involved in Bigfoot research. And my advice to them is to do just what you mentioned. Go online and read the articles online. Get out in the woods on your own or find a Bigfoot group in your area or researcher and ask to go out with them. And that's probably the best way to learn. What I've probably done a little differently than most folks that are getting into this now is I've been in it for quite some time, probably before it was really popular like it is now. And I spent a lot of my younger teen years following some Bigfoot and UFO experts here in Pennsylvania. I had the fortunate pleasure of knowing a few of them that were researching back in the 70s and 80s. So I had that access to those folks to ask them questions and to follow their work either through newspapers or magazine articles or even books. So what I kind of do differently from just the internet research is I'm actually out in the field following up on people's sighting reports that they submit to me. I meet with them at the location, or if they're not able to meet with me, I go to that location and try to see if there's any physical evidence there to support their claim.
That's great.
I also do the historical research on the area as well to see if there have been any studies in the area. That helps out a lot. But anybody could be a Bigfoot researcher if they want to be. They've got to put the time and effort into it.
Do you ever find that any of these claims that these people contact you about to turn out to be false or fake or anything like that?
All the time, yeah. It's sometimes difficult to weed through the good and the bad because the reports can come in. It can sound really really good. A lot of keywords are described in the report. The eyewitness can be sincere and submit a really good, detailed report. But then you get into the nitty-gritty of it, investigating, looking into the actual claim, and you find out that there's no way possible that this person could have seen the creature that they claim based on where they claim they saw it at. It's just not a suitable environment. Or they don't get back to you, or they send stuff to you, and no matter how hard you try to get in touch with them, you even get any more information, they don't get back. So, yeah, we do get a lot of bogus reports, fabricated reports, and it just comes with experience to learn how to read through these reports, how to talk to the eyewitnesses, read their body language, read their emotions on their face, listen to the quiver in their voice when they share their experience. I've learned over the years how to really pick out the good from the bad. Unfortunately, there's a lot more bad reports coming in these days because of the popularity of the subject, and there are good, but we're still able to pull out the good reports from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds similar to the paranormal field also. I mean, like you said, with the popularity of all the paranormal shows and everything, I mean, when we do house investigations, you know, we have a lot of paperwork they have to fill out before, and then we have questioning, and you know, sometimes you could tell right away that, you know, they're just doing it because they think they're going to be on TV, not realizing that, you know, we're just a regular, you know, group trying to help people. You know, some people are just looking to be on TV or to see if they could, you know, kind of fake stuff and see if we figure it out, you know, which is a shame, but like you said, that's something that, you know, we get used to and learn how to deal with, you know, over time. But
exactly, yeah.
With your experiences, well, at least when I think of Bigfoot, I think of like kind of a scary, hairy, big, huge animal, and I also kind of think when you think of like that, you tend to think that something like that would be aggressive. In your research and, you know, people have you talked to, do you find that those who encounter possible Bigfoot situations, are the Bigfoots the aggressors? Are they aggressive? Are they dangerous? Or is it really more the humans and they're just kind of reacting to the humans if there is any danger there or aggressiveness?
I think it depends on the situation, and I think the two factors that you mentioned about the creature being aggressive as well as humans being aggressive, those both can play a role in the situation. If we're dealing with a flesh and blood animal, and we're dealing with something that we can categorize as a living species that's terrestrial, then like any typical animal, sure they can be aggressive. If you encroach on their habitat, their young, their food sources, their territory, they don't want you there, they're going to let you know. And if they are related to primates, then primates do have aggressive behavior, and they display it, either territorial bluff charges or throwing sticks and rocks, beating their chest, growling. There's a bunch of different factors that can play into that. But humans can also be aggressive, too. If this creature is just being curious and observing a human, and then the human sees it and tries to shoot at it, and you've got an aggressive human in that case, which could turn the creature aggressive in retaliation back towards you. There's a lot of different factors that can play into whether or not the creature's aggressive or the human's aggressive. On documented books, magazines, newspaper articles, it's very rare cases. They do happen, but it's very rare that you read about a creature being aggressive or showing aggressive tendencies towards human beings. Most of the encounters are a creature that's been seen fleeing from the situation, from the area, or crossing the road in front of a car, going in another direction. There have been cases where people have claimed they've seen the creature looking in a bedroom window, a kitchen window, and when the creature realizes that it's been seen, it quickly flees.
That's creepy.
So the documents that are out there that talk about the creature being aggressive and violent are very few and far between. There are really not many of them out there.
Has there ever been a report of a Bigfoot actually killing a human? I've never heard a report like that, but you obviously have more experience. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
There have been some reports that have been turned in over the years that have aggressive creatures in them. There's a well-known story, but we don't have any proof if it's a legitimate story or not. And you can find the story in a book written by one of our former presidents, Teddy Roosevelt. The Wilderness Hunter is the name of the book that he wrote. And back in the 1850s, a trapper by the name of Bauman went into the mountains of Idaho in the northwest, and he and his trapping partner came across what they claimed was an upright walking monster. And shooting at this creature several times to try to get it to leave them alone and leave their campsite alone, eventually, from what Bauman told Teddy Roosevelt, the creature did kill his trapping partner.
Wow.
Now, we can't verify that actually happened, but that's according to what Bauman told Teddy Roosevelt, who wrote about it in the book. We do have several stories that are similar to this, but again, they're very hard to document unless we have physical proof, like a body's been recovered and we can show that it wasn't killed by natural causes or another predator or bullet or knife or anything like that. So we have these stories and tales, but they're very, very rare and very hard to document.
Yeah. Now, I don't know the name of it, but that famous film from the '60s. What's the name of that? The
Terry Anderson.
The Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yeah, I mean, what's your opinion on that? I mean, I've seen it, a bunch of times.
Well, I used to be a firm 100% believer that the creature in that film. I have a lot of questions based on the film itself. There's some questions that's been risen over the years about people come forward and claim they've been the person in the suit, the film. There's some questionable things about Roger Patterson and his character. He was not a con artist, but he was known as being good at persuading people to do things he wanted. And he didn't have the best of reputation, but because of his character and some other questions that arose from when the film was shot, I can't say I'm 100% believer that the film was real. There'll always be some questions about it, and I think that's kind of healthy to have questions about that film. If I were put on the spot and asked, is that a creature in the film, I really couldn't say for sure because I wasn't there at that time. All we have to go on is about a minute worth of grainy footage. Even if you blow it up and you look at it like most experts say you can see muscle and stuff like that, yes, you can, but it's an old film, and what we have today to look at isn't the best quality. So it leaves a lot of questions.
I mean, I saw a documentary recently on Bigfoot, and there was actually another guy there with him, supposedly, and he's come forward since Patterson died, and he claims he was crossing the river or whatever there on a horse. When the Bigfoot looked back at the camera, he claims it was actually looking at him because he was crossing the river on a horse, and he claims the Bigfoot was looking back at him. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. I mean, it's a pretty recent documentary that came out. I don't know how much truth.
The guy's name is Bob Gimlin. He was with Roger Patterson that day when they were riding, hence the name Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yeah.
And what had happened in the actual filming of this creature, they were riding along a creek bed in Bluff Creek, California, and as they came around the bend in the creek, they startled this creature who was down on its haunches at the creek bed. They don't know if it was drinking water or what it was doing, but when the horses came around the creek bed and they saw this creature, they reared up. One of the horses reared up and it threw Roger off the horse. And instead of grabbing a gun, Roger grabbed his camera from the horse's sack, the knapsack on the side of the horse, and began filming. Well, Bob pulled out his .30-06 and held it at his side just in case the creature turned and came back at them. That's what Bob has told me on several occasions. And fortunately, the creature never did that. It just walked away, and it kind of looked back at both of them, mainly because Roger was running at the creature to film it, and the horses, the whole situation with Bob with the gun. So it was kind of nonchalantly looking back like, okay, I'm getting out of here. I'll make sure you guys are staying where you're at so I can keep going the way I'm going.
Right.
It's a really interesting piece of footage, but again, it's inconclusive. Now, I've known Bob for many years now, and I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk one-on-one with him in person. And from what he's told me, I have no doubt that he and Roger experienced what they claim. Now, is it a guy in a suit? And Bob was fooled. He admits could have well been a very well documented and orchestrated hoax, but Bob doesn't know for sure if it was. He was just happened to be there. What raises the question for me about this film is there was a point in time in that morning where Roger had disappeared from the campsite and then came back to the campsite later. So there was a point in time where Bob and Roger were apart. So it could have set up Bob to witness this and Bob thinking it was a real thing when in fact it was a hoax. We just don't know that. And Bob doesn't know that either.
Right.
So it's interesting, but again, it's inconclusive.
I mean, what really, makes me question it is that, this film was done, in the 60s or, whenever it occurred. And, I mean, with today's technology where on everybody's cell phone, there's, like, video now, like, that nobody else, especially in the past, like, 10 years, has gotten footage as good as that, on film. It seems pretty amazing that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, and that's another point, too. That's a great point, actually, that really leaves me wondering why we haven't been able to successfully videotape this creature. Now, if you go on YouTube today or any of the video channels today, you can find literally hundreds, if not thousands of videos of people claiming they saw Bigfoot and they video captured it with their cell phone or with a video camera. And most of these are just very quick, fleeting glimpses of something moving through the trees. And for the most part, researchers such as myself kind of just debunk them because we can't tell if they're a legitimate creature in the video footage or not. All we see is something upright, something dark in color, and moving very quickly through the trees. Could it be a Bigfoot? Sure. But we just can't make that call because there's not enough information in that piece of footage to say yes or no. The only film, as you mentioned, that really shows a crystal clear definition of what could be a Bigfoot is that Roger Patterson Gimlin film.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I actually have a question. I think I presented to you in Gettysburg was, I've gone to a couple different locations where they've claimed Bigfoot sightings and didn't know about it. And we'd be walking through the woods, and I'd be like, "Oh, so what's cool about this place?" I wasn't really briefed about it. "Oh, it's Bigfoot." And the first thing I said, "Does anybody have a gun?" Do you guys ever have any protection when you go out in the woods or anything? I would assume if it's claims of, an 8-foot, 500-pound monster, you must have something sometimes.
Sheepskin.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I do not carry a sidearm.
No.
I have never carried a sidearm into the woods with me. I carry a rifle or a shotgun when I go hunting, and that's for deer or small game, but I don't carry a sidearm when I go out investigating Bigfoot. I do carry a canister of bear mace, and that's simply for protecting myself from bear. The thing that I worry about most in the woods isn't a Bigfoot creature. It's more other predators, like possibly running into coyotes or a bear or even humans. There can be some pretty crazy human beings out there in the forest, and they're more dangerous than Bigfoot would be. So I don't carry a sidearm with me to protect myself from Bigfoot. I carry bear mace, or if I'm out hunting, a rifle or shotgun. There are people in my research group that do carry sidearms that simply to protect themselves from other people. That's more dangerous than I would think a Bigfoot would be. But I don't know of anybody that really carries a sidearm to protect themselves from a Bigfoot unless they're out there trying to kill a Bigfoot.
Right. Now, what's your feeling on that, on people trying to kill Bigfoot for a carcass?
Well, I'm kind of against killing one of these creatures. I personally like to be able to discover a family, units, or a small tribe of these creatures, if you want to call them that, and be able to study them in their natural habitat. I think if we could come up with good video footage of a creature doing something that's not human, superhuman, if you will, like lifting a 500-pound log or making a 30-foot jump, which a person couldn't do, something to that effect, I think that would be pretty good evidence. I don't really think we need a body to prove this animal exists. I think there's been enough hair. There's been tissue samples collected over the years and footprints. And what's really interesting, a lot of people don't know, are a lot of scientists now are really starting to come forward and take a serious look at this based on the anecdotal evidence that we have, the footprint casts, the hair samples, the blood and tissue samples. They're really starting to turn some heads. So I don't think we really need to kill a Bigfoot to prove it exists.
Right.
Now, what do you? I mean, without you don't have to name names or anything because, I know that paranormal investigators get asked these questions too, like with the rise in the television shows. How does that, how is it for you? And that's the same thing, like with all these television shows about, looking for Bigfoot. What do you think of all those different things? And is the way that their I guess quote unquote like techniques or their approach, is it comparative to how you approach and study?
I think that the TV show Finding Bigfoot and similar ones like that documentary that come out are good and bad for the research that I do in particular, and others that fall to the same kind of research patterns. It's great because it shows witnesses that there are people out there doing this kind of work, and hopefully we'll get them to open up about their encounter. There might be somebody sitting on the discovery of a lifetime right now, and with a show like this, they see it on TV and see there's serious people out there looking. They may be willing to talk to one of us researchers. So that's the good side about it. Plus, it's really putting it out there in the public eye and bringing attention to a subject that's always been kind of taboo. Now, the bad side about it is it brings it out to the public and puts it in the public eye, which can lead to more hoaxes, more people dressing in costumes, running around the woods, filing fabricated sighting reports, bad reports with us. So we have to deal with that as well. Plus, the research techniques on some of the shows that I've seen aren't the best. But I realize that this is TV we're dealing with here. And the only way to get people to keep watching it is to have something exciting happen during the show. Like a cliffhanger, for example, or to keep the show interesting. You want to have viewers come back every week, you've got to provide something interesting for them to see. Now, I can tell you from the 15-plus years I've been in the field, Bigfoot research doesn't happen like it does on TV. We don't always have the howls and the screams and the wood knocks and the encounters that they have on these shows. That's a very, very rare occurrence. 95% of the time we're out there, nothing happens except running into a common wildlife or another person in the woods, or even just having, as you know, with ghost hunting, having a very boring night sitting there for hours on end with nothing going on.
Yeah.
Right. So the TV shows really glamorize the Bigfoot encounters because the people want to see that. I mean, let's be honest. Who wants to sit and watch somebody sitting in the woods for 8 hours or 2 or 3 days at a time, sitting on a stump of a tree or up against a tree on the ground with nothing going on? I'd fall asleep, to be honest.
Yeah.
So they want to see the excitement. They want to see the glamour and the thrill of the TV show. So that's what they're showing. That's what these producers are doing. It's not what happens in Bigfoot research, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely sounds similar to a lot of things that happen with us. With paranormal investigating, every time you watch a TV show, there's a EVP, there's a this, there's a that, and it's like, when it comes to especially like video, I think in the last couple of years, I've seen maybe one thing that we've gotten once, maybe, that might have been considered legitimate on video, and I'm sure it's the same thing, and then these shows get it every week or every other week,
Exactly.
I have a question.
Just to interject real quick, what the public fails to see is that, especially on the TV show that's out right now, everything to them is a Sasquatch. And that's not the case with 99% of the other Bigfoot researchers out there. There's a lot of very objective researchers out there who debunk everything they possibly can before making that leap and saying it could have been a Sasquatch. I know I'm like that. I'll rule out any possibility I can first before even acknowledging that very well could have been a Bigfoot track, or that very well could have been a Bigfoot howl that we heard. I'm very objective, and I even consider myself skeptic at times.
Right.
It's almost like with us too. It's every house we go to or anybody we try to help, they automatically go to, oh, it's demonic. It's a demonic entity, and it's not always the case. It's not. It could just be, we just try to debunk things like that. So it's definitely we can understand that. But I had a question as well. Has there ever been a claim of a female Bigfoot?
Oh, certainly.
Yes?
The Patterson-Gimlin film that we were talking about, that they claim is a female Bigfoot. It has breasts in it, and it turns towards the camera.
Were they big?
You can almost see the breasts swing and move from left to right as it looks back. There have been other reports of people seeing female Bigfoot based on the anatomy of the creature. So yes, there have been, and actually you'd be surprised to know there have been reports of people seeing a male, a female, and offspring, juvenile creatures.
Wow. That's great.
I'm going to switch gears for a second with a question. I don't want to get into like a whole religious talk, but, you know, with creationism and evolution, would you say, what do you think the chances of Bigfoot being the missing link? Since it's intelligent, but it also looks like an animal, kind of seems like a go-between between an animal and a human. Do you think there's a chance that could be a missing link?
Well, to be honest with you, I really don't know what this creature is. It very well could be, being that it's so close to human descriptions. We get a lot of reports, which is, I guess you call it 50-50 on the reports that we get. We get a lot of reports that say that it's very primate looking. It was a big gorilla or a big monkey that they saw in the woods. Well, on the other side of the coin, people report that it's very human looking. So it very well could be the missing link. We just honestly don't know at this point. And I really think that if it were proven to be the missing link between primates and humans, that would really put the kibosh on Christianity and those folks who don't favor evolution. There'd be people up in arms about that, saying it's not possible. And I think that is one reason why the government especially won't jump in and really take this by the horns and try to solve this mystery, because they know that religion is such a huge part of our social upbringing and our social beliefs, that if we put a damper on the church, there's going to be chaos. And that might be a reason why they don't get involved with investigating this phenomenon.
Bigfoot's going to take Christianity down.
Yeah, Chewbacca.
Possibility. Yep.
So, what do you think about like that? I was watching that show, Finding Bigfoot, and like how that guy's like does this Bigfoot call, and obviously he's never seen Bigfoot and hung out with him and called him up or whatever. But is that something? Is that like a sound maybe that you've heard or something where you can kind of see where he's coming from, or you think he's just doing like a shot in the dark type of thing?
Well, from my point of view, I've never seen a Bigfoot open its mouth and make a call. So I can't tell you what exactly a Bigfoot does or how it sounds when it's in the woods. I have heard some very strange and unusual calls and cries and howls and screams in the forest, but I never saw the animal make it, so I can't say definitively what made that sound. And I don't think these people on the show can really say definitively that a Bigfoot is doing that. They're going by eyewitness testimony who might have seen a creature make that sound, or may have seen the creature actually open its mouth and heard that sound come out of it. There's a lot of speculation in this field based on the eyewitness testimony, and that's what these people on these shows do. They have to speculate because it's not a known, proven fact. We're going by eyewitness testimony, and until we're able to actually study these creatures in the wild and watch a Bigfoot open its mouth and record on video and audio what this creature is doing, we have no way to prove 100% that that's a Bigfoot making that call.
Yeah. Well, we have just a few minutes left. I have two quick questions for you, and I just wanted to shoot these out. What does Kathy think about this? Is she, obviously it's a major part of your life. Is that does she ever go out into the woods with you and investigate, or is she more of just go out and do your thing?
A little bit of both. She has gone out with me, not necessarily in the woods hiking with me. We do an investigation where we take the group out on a camping trip or whatever. She pretty much stays at base camp and runs the base camp. Asking her if Bigfoot exists, she'll tell you she's on the fence. She's about 50-50 with it. Now, the reason why she would think it possibly exists is because she's known me for forever, and she knows that I'm a straight-up shooter. I don't BS. I don't make this stuff up. and she knows that I try to debunk, and I'm very skeptic about it. So she keeps an open mind about it, but in the same sense, until she experiences it, sees it for herself, she's never going to be a full believer. She does support me, which I really appreciate. She lets me go to the conferences and speak on it and do the filming and the radio shows and spend my time in the woods. So I'm very grateful for her to be as flexible as she is, to give me my space to do what I enjoy doing. But as far as her believing it, like I said, if you ask her, she'd probably say she sits on the fence about it.
All right. One more question that we had is for the people that are in the chat room and for the people listening. If you were, whether it's the first time person going into the woods and having this excursion looking for Bigfoot, or even you yourself, what would you put in your quote unquote like Bigfoot backpack? What are the necessary tools that you bring and that you trust, and some things that you learn not to bring maybe with you?
Well, I started back in '97 going in the field, and I used to carry a backpack that weighed about 100 pounds. And I learned pretty quick that you don't need all that crap. You can get away with the basic necessities like a measuring tape, a ruler, something for scale if you do find tracks, something small like paper envelopes, tweezers, sterilized tweezers. If you find hair, you want to put it in that envelope and seal it. And an audio recorder, like a digital audio recorder, a digital camera or 35mm camera or a video camera. That's really all you need when you go out into the field. And if you want to take something to protect yourself, maybe a pocket knife or bear mace, or if you feel like carrying a sidearm, that's your decision to do so. But don't overdo it with the backpack, because after the first couple of miles of walking with that thing, you'll be killing yourself. You'll be regretting doing it.
Now, when we were in Gettysburg, you were talking about different types of casts and molds. And I believe you said, one of the things you try and stay away of, I believe you said, is plaster of Paris. What is, if you do find some type of tracks, what is the best thing to use to preserve that?
I use bonding cement. It's very, you've seen the casts I have, they're white. They bring out a lot of detail to them, and it's cement. It won't break like plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris holds water. It sweats when it gets hot, and plaster of Paris is actually a very hot material. It bleeds and it crumbles and falls apart, and you're left with broken track casts. I've experienced that from learning as I went along the way. I used to use plaster of Paris, but now I use bonding cement. And you can use dental stone, which the dentist office they use for molding teeth. You can use any kind of ultra cal cement. That's what I recommend, taking something like that with you if you're going to go out and do my tracks.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I thank you for calling in today. We're just about out of time, and Deborah and Nick Lance are coming up next. So, but I mean, thank you, honestly, thank you so much for calling in and giving us your input and your expertise on the field and the research that you've done in the field of Bigfoot.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking, guys. And please give Nick and Deb my best. They're friends of mine, and had the pleasure of meeting those guys at Phenomenology as well. So give them my best, and thanks again for having me on tonight. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. You have a great night.
All right, guys. Take care.
You too. Bye. He is an awesome, awesome guest. Thank you guys all for listening. Hopefully we've hit some of the topics and the questions that you guys had in the field of Bigfoot. And if there's anything else that you guys are curious about, just shoot us a message on our Facebook, www.facebook.com/Shadows of the Paranormal. Check out our website, shadowsoftheparanormal.com, or just go onto Facebook and type in Eric Altman. And that was our guest tonight, and he's always down for answering some questions. He's, like I said, part of the PA Bigfoot Society, so for research. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Next week, we're going to have Reverend Tim Shaw on our show, and he is an awesome, awesome guest, and honestly one of the most genuine people that I've ever met in the paranormal field. So I'm looking forward to getting to talk to him again. It's been a while. So, all right, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you again.
Have a great night.
See you guys.
Show me what you can do when you step into the circle and shake.
My name is Chris Vickers. I've been investigating the paranormal for 3 years.
My name is George Franco Mihalos. I've been investigating in the paranormal field now for about 5 years.
My name is Ryan Fessler, and I have been investigating the paranormal for approximately 4 years.
My name is Carolyn Braband, and I've been a paranormal investigator for about 3 years.
My name is Brian Turnoff, and I've been investigating the paranormal for 3 years.
My name is Philip McCarty. I've been investigating for just about under a year.
Being a paranormal investigator means to me is finding the truth.
I don't do this for fame, I don't do this for money, I do this to help others.
That word, paranormal investigator, means responsibility.
It means putting the client first and being able to establish whether a spirit is actually in their homes or not.
Being a paranormal investigator means to me going out and helping someone who needs help that doesn't have explained answers.
My top 3 favorite places to investigate: number 1, Gettysburg, PA; number 2, Sac to Coast Manor, Long Island; number 3, Mount Misery.
My top 3 places that I've investigated would be number 1, Bobby Mackey's, Wilder, Kentucky; number 2, Mount Misery Road in Long Island, New York; and number 3, Kings Park Psych Center.
Top 3 favorite places to investigate would have to be the Fire Island Lighthouse, Kings Park Psych Center, and Sagatoast Manor, all located on Long Island.
The best piece of evidence I've gotten has to be at Burlington Prison.
He had a strobe light set up outside the room.
I started to recreate if a prisoner were to get hurt.
And he said, "Guard, guard, help us, we're down."
All of a sudden, the strobe light kicks on, starts going off by itself.
No one was near it, and it happened several times throughout the night.
They turned into just like balls of energy and shot across the ceiling.
Look up, I see a black figure come down the stairwell in the hallway.
Couldn't really tell what it was, but definitely wasn't there at the time.
Favorite piece of equipment would be any Geiger counter.
Audio recorder.
The air ion counter.
I think I'm both scientific and spiritual.
Definitely more on the scientific side.
I'm going to have to consider myself more of a spiritual investigator.
Always try to take a scientific approach. It takes a lot for me to be convinced of anything.
I use my equipment and I stick to my equipment, but you also go off your intuition. If you're feeling something, roll with it.
Hey, what up? It's Cyrus from We Found Glory. I want to say what up to Chris and Shadows of the Paranormal. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bobby Mackey, and I'd certainly like to welcome my friends here from Long Island, the SOP group.
Hi, this is Aaron Houdini, and I'm here with Shadows of the Paranormal at Bobby Mackey's Music World. I want to give Shadows a big shout out.